Your Denver Broncos' path to an AFC West division title just got a lot easier as the Raiders continue to Raider. Courtland Sutton's renegotiated deal looks even better. We have more injury news in the AFC in particular, and we are 24 hours away from going from the preseason to the actual regular season as we get to trim some of these 90-some names down to 53. We have our first 5 of those cuts to talk about in this video. We're covering that and way more. If you're new to the channel, I'm a diehard Denver Broncos fan named Ben. Helps me in the YouTube algorithm out a ton if you would smash that like and subscribe button as hard as Jakobi Meyers is smashing the please trade me button. So this is just a massive, massive story on a number of fronts. So Jakobi Meyers, definitely a great wide receiver. When you take a look at how he produced last year in Vegas with some of the worst quarterback play that you could even imagine, that he's weighing in and just coming in just slightly behind the total number of receiving yards that we saw from Courtland Sutton. So we're seeing Jakobi Meyers right here had 1,027 yards receiving last season. You take a look at some of the highlights, and he's making catches that you are not used to seeing in Vegas, laying out, going into the end zone. And just seeing like the advanced analytics show that he was phenomenal. That you look over the last half of the season, and Puka Nacua and Jamar Chase were the only wide receivers who did better than he did last season at the second half of that season. Him being traded to away from the Vegas Raiders makes me feel even more confident that the Denver Broncos are going to sweep this division. We know Sean Payton always talks about the key to success in an offense is having that triangle, right? That you need to have a great tight end, a great running back, and a great wide receiver. So the Raiders just lost one of theirs, and I think all that you have left, and I'm a math guy, is that the Raiders are now a giant L. We already know that they lost so much defensive talent that the only thing that scared you about the Raiders was getting into like a shootout with them, and that you could see them really putting up points in, Brock Bowers is a generational tight end. Ashton Jeanty, I don't think he's going to live up to the hype, but he definitely is an upgrade over what they had last season. And Geno Smith ultimately is an upgrade as well. So I was worried about getting into some of those games where you're making Bo Nix score 35, 40 points a game to win. I'm no longer concerned about that, and I think the Broncos are going to sweep the Raiders this season again, just because this is saying a lot about that team and how they're building things, like the Christian Wilkinson thing. No one's talking about, like, their second best defensive player gets dismissed from the team and no one really knows why. And just seeing that you're now having a player who is in the same exact situation as Courtland Sutton just be like, all right, I'm out of here then. And you're seeing, guys like Terry McLaurin wasn't even going that far. So I think this is showing dysfunction in the Raiders organization. I was worried because it felt like there were some adults in that organization, and I guess I should have just remembered my entire fandom of being a Broncos fan, that the Raiders are going to continue to Raider, and I think that's a phenomenal thing for us, because truly, guys, he was a matchup nightmare, and you just see it doesn't matter who is going against, and it doesn't matter who is throwing him the ball. Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, whoever was throwing him, he was going up and getting it. I love the fact that he is gone. There are some rumors that, or not rumors, but people even just pounding the table and saying he'd be a great fit in the Sean Payton system. I'm pumping the brakes on that. I don't think the Broncos would do that. I don't think the Raiders would trade him in division, but get him out of here. Let's keep him away from the Chiefs, send him anywhere in the NFC. That'll be phenomenal. And maybe they'll start to dig out of the hole by paying Christian Wilkinson all that money for zero production. So that's great news. Also here in, I think, another team that we're going to be competing with for a playoff spot is going to be the Houston Texans. That defense is nasty. Offensive line is very suspect, and what they were truly hoping was that they were going to be able to have a two-dimensional game with C.J. Stroud and a running game, and then they made a gamble getting Joe Mixon, and he's going to be at least out for the first 4 games of the season. So people say I always celebrate injuries too much. I don't want to do that, but this is good news for the Broncos making the playoffs. I hope he has a speedy recovery. We also saw a renegotiated deal for Terry McLaurin that just continues to make what the Broncos got for Courtland Sutton seem like a hometown discount. We know we saw what he did in that one quarter of preseason play against a pretty good Saints defense. He carved them up. Having 84 yards of receiving in that game, or just that one quarter. He would have been on pace for a 300-yard receiving game. He definitely is a wide receiver 1, and we're seeing that he and Terry were in the exact same situation, and they actually look pretty similar when you take a look at them. Obviously, Terry had a couple more 20-yard gains than Courtland did last season, and he had a couple more touchdowns than Courtland did, but they really are not that far off when it comes to receiving. Yet Terry just got the absolute bag, and he got a $96 million deal over 3 years. So $33 million deal, which will vault him from being just a little bit over Courtland to like way up in this echelon. And so a lot of times when you see new deals happen, it resets the market. And Courtland Sutton's deal, it does seem rich. And a lot of us were like, man, he's not great after the catch, but you see that really is a hometown discount. He wasn't trying to reset the market in any way, and I think that is a really, really good thing for us as Broncos fans. And then we're seeing Micah Parsons continue to hold out. We're still seeing Trey Hendrickson with the Cincinnati Bengals hold out, and just really it's hard to look across the NFL and not see that like most teams have a lot of negative press, and that's just not true of the Broncos. It's not that people inside of Denver media are just drinking orange and blue Kool-Aid all day long. It truly is. It is hard to find a bad story right now about these Denver Broncos. And you're even seeing like national media outlets coming out and clamoring and banging the table for your Broncos. Seeing here that Dan Orlovsky came out and said that the Broncos have the best defense in football.
Top 3 defense in the NFL.
That we also had the best offensive line in football. And so you're starting to see kind of this boomerang effect where a lot of Denver Broncos media guys who I adore, like a Brandon Perna, are saying, it's been so long since people have said nice things about us that now we're wondering, is it jinxing us? That they love it, but they also fear it. So let me know in the comments, are you feeling that same sense of like, oh, I don't want good things because this is going to be bad karma or bad juju? I don't believe in any of that. And I think this is well-deserved praise, and that finally the national media is catching up to what we've been cooking in Denver here since Sean Payton took over. It does not worry me at all. I want more of it, and I want to just inject it straight into my veins. And then I think in addition, you're seeing that the Denver Broncos not only have acquired great free agent talent, but their ability to draft guys and develop them is undefeated and just stands above what other organizations are doing. Even hearing on a national podcast that folks are predicting that the New England Patriots are going to make the playoffs this season. And you just take a look at their draft class from last season, and Drake May is the only lock from that entire draft class who is guaranteed a playoff or guaranteed to make this current team. That a bunch of them are already on IR, have already been cut, have already been traded because the team gave up on them. And you look at our team last season, where you have four of our draftees last season made meaningful differences to make us get to the playoffs and played in playoff games. Like, I think it's such a juxtaposition there to see one guy from a draft class still on the team, and we don't even know if he's good because we haven't seen enough, versus four of them. We turned Devon Vele into another 4th round pick. Gargulio would have made the team, but now he's on IR, but he was going to be our swing backup because he can play multiple positions. Audric Estime is the only one on there that you might just be saying, oh, the Broncos didn't nail this draft pick, but he's also the youngest player on our team and still might make it tomorrow when cutdowns come. Chris Abrams-Drain, we saw pick off Herbert in a game that had playoff implications. We ended up losing it. And we just see him absolutely as a lockdown corner in the preseason, and you would put him on the field over Levi Wallace any day, and adds tremendous depth. And Troy Franklin is like going to have a standout pop-out season, and Jonah Ellis, obviously, being one of the youngest players in the league history to have 5 sacks as only a 21-year-old. And then obviously Bo Nix is in Rookie of the Year conversations. And if it wasn't for that like crazy season from Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix has Rookie of the Year season, really one of the best seasons we've seen from a rookie quarterback ever. And that's not even a hometown take. So you just see huge difference there in how we drafted. And so then you also got to have that same confidence in this time next year. We'll be looking back at the Q Robinson draft pick, and the RJ Harvey draft pick, and the Pat Bryant draft pick, and the Jahdae Barron draft pick, and seeing this exact same thing, because Sean Payton's draft picks hit. They do not bust. And so just, can you even imagine it this time next year, once we're talking about these rookies this year? It's a very, very exciting time. And then for all the haters who said they didn't see enough from this Broncos team during the preseason, and they're fearing all of these folks saying that we're going to make a deep run in the playoffs, the Denver Broncos were the number 1 offense and the number 1 defense in the preseason this year. And I know preseason counts for nothing starting tomorrow, but I think it counts for something because Sean Payton is building on that momentum, which is great. And then lastly, we know that there's about 37 guys who we all have hyped ourselves up to and have fallen in love with, who are about to get cut from this roster. And we did have the first 5 of those today. The one that surprises me the most would be Clay Webb. That was a player, Sean Payton. He was embroiled in that scandal from like a bullying incident when he was back in college, and he ended up being the undrafted player that the Broncos gave the most guaranteed money to, which made me think he had the best shot at making this team. So that one surprised me. And then seeing our massive speedster athletic freak Joaquin Davis there also cut. I'm hoping he makes it back to the practice squad. Let me know which of those surprised you the most of our first 5 cuts. And then obviously we'll do another episode tomorrow. I guess I got 2 questions here, like Audric Estime, Caleb Lohner. Do we see one, both, or neither of those on our final 53-man roster? I'm going to say we see one of them on the final. Or actually, I'm going to say we see both of them. I think Audric and Caleb Lohner make this roster. Don't ask me how we get there. I didn't know there was going to be math involved other than geometry and the Raiders taking the L on the way out. In Broncos country, we got so much to believe in. Oh.